Do you start with a product and try to find market for it, or do you identify a market and then build a product for it? A lot of students come up to me and say, I have this idea, do you think it'll work? And I'm sure it happens to you as well. What do you tell them?
Yes. So the answer is, you could start on either end. If you're a technologist, then in Silicon Valley, our history is we started with products in search of customers. In fact, that's why I invented the customer development process, because every startup I ever did was semiconductors or supercomputers, or we had some great technology invention, and then they said, oh, let's go find some business. Other people actually might come out of a space where they actually understood the customers and are looking for products that could serve them. In either case, the two most important things you're searching for as entrepreneurs, as the founding team, is this fit between product and customer. And this fit is called product market fit. You can't go further in your startup unless you have found product market fit. And product market fit is very simple. Are people grabbing the product out of your hands and saying, I want it, or I'm using it, or I'm buying it, or I've given you email addresses, or I'm downloading it, or some evidence that people actually like what your vision is? Every once in a while, I get a student who's taken my class, does a startup, and then I have coffee with them, and they say, Professor Blank, the customers aren't behaving as I think. And so sometimes I just kind of get exasperated and say, well, maybe we should ship a copy of your plan, you know, with the product. And they write down, ship copy of plan with product. And I go, no, that's not what you should be doing. You should be finding out why they're not behaving as you expect. And by the way, customers never behave as you expect. Never.
And they don't know what they want either.
They don't know, and you believe you know. Which, by the way, as an aside, I was in the speed dating session, and I'm impressed that almost every entrepreneur here in Istanbul can do a 30-second pitch just like at Y Combinator. That's the good news. The bad news is, I think that's irrelevant. What I'm really interested in, and so should you, is not how glib or how easy you could describe your company. I'm really interested in, what did you think? You know, what did you find? Then what did you do? And then where are you now? I want to understand, where did you start from, and how much did you learn? These 30-second pitches just tell me that here's how smart you think you are right now. I'm really interested is, if you didn't learn anything in the last 6 months, I'm running away because I don't think you actually learned anything. I want to understand, well, here's what I thought when I started the company. Here's what happened when we shipped some minimum viable products. Here's what happened when the customers didn't work the way we thought they would, or pricing or competitors, et cetera. And so here's what we're doing. That journey is actually a lot more interesting because it teaches me the velocity and trajectory of the teams. Now, that scares some investors, but to be honest, I wouldn't want to take money from people who are interested in a fancy PowerPoint slide. I'd be interested in people who want to invest in somebody who learns rapidly and is able to actually match the market.
You said minimum viable product. How do we know what's viable, what's minimal, and are there risks associated with the minimum viable product? That is one of the building blocks of the lean startup movement, isn't it?
You know, this word MVP is overused, but very relevant. A minimum viable product is whatever you could build to learn the most at a certain point of time. And if you're an engineer, the immediate reaction is, oh, I get it, it's a de-featured version of the product. It's, you know, some of the features are missing. And that just misses the point. That's not what an MVP is. An MVP on day one could be a PowerPoint slide of the UI. Or it could be a spreadsheet with the data you're going to provide a customer. Or it could be a wireframe. Or it could be even a conversation. An MVP changes over time, and what you're trying to do is maximize learning. It could simply be different price points. It could be A/B testing of pricing, which has nothing to do with the product. That is, what I'm trying to do is learn about customer segments, you know, revenue model, customer acquisition, costs, volume, etc., correct channel, right partners. And so the minimum viable product is not a smaller version of the finished product. It might be, but almost often is not in the beginning of the company. And in fact, it's almost worth reminding people what a startup is. When I was an entrepreneur, I always thought a startup was the things I did, which is I woke up in the morning and figured out how I was going to take over the entire world, if not the entire universe, and that's what a startup was. But I realized that there were a variety of definitions. In Silicon Valley, a startup is the place where you get free food and get to bring your dog. But you're not allowed to bring your children. I never figured that one out. So I came up with a definition which might be helpful. A startup is a temporary organization designed to search for a repeatable and scalable